My name is Michael Harrison, and I'm about to tell you how I discovered my wife's affair and systematically dismantled 2 lives in less than 4 hours. This isn't a story about forgiveness or second chances. This is about what happens when betrayal meets someone who understands leverage, timing, and the digital age's capacity for instant justice. It started on an ordinary Thursday afternoon in March. I was working from home, as I'd been doing twice a week since my private equity firm embraced hybrid schedules. My home office overlooked our suburban Seattle neighborhood, a picture of American success with its manicured lawns and two-car garages. Through my window, I could see the cherry blossoms beginning to bloom, a detail that would later feel like nature's cruel irony. At 2:47 p.m., I was deep in a video conference with our Tokyo partners, discussing the acquisition of a semiconductor manufacturer. These calls typically ran 3 hours minimum. The Japanese appreciated thoroughness, and I respected their attention to detail. My headphones were on, my camera positioned to show my bookshelf backdrop, everything perfectly professional. That's when I noticed it, a movement in the hallway mirror visible just at the edge of my camera's frame. The mirror had been Sarah's idea, something about making the hallway feel larger. I'd never paid it much attention until that moment when it reflected our bedroom door opening. A man walked in. Not just any man, Ryan Mitchell, Sarah's business partner at their marketing firm, Velocity Creative. The same Ryan who'd been at our anniversary party 2 months ago, who'd made a toast about partnership and trust. The same Ryan whose wife Jennifer had become Sarah's closest friend. Sarah followed him into the bedroom, and even from the mirror's imperfect angle, I could see her hands already working at the buttons of her blouse. My blood turned to ice water, but my face remained perfectly neutral for the Tokyo clients discussing profit margins and market penetration. "Excuse me, gentlemen," I said calmly in Japanese, a language I'd mastered during my years in international finance. "I'm experiencing some technical difficulties with my connection. Let me switch to audio only for a moment." I muted my microphone, disabled my camera with an apologetic bow they couldn't see, and grabbed my personal phone. My hands were steady. Years of high-stakes negotiations had taught me to compartmentalize emotion. I set the phone to record video, walked silently to the hallway, and positioned it on the antique console table Sarah had inherited from her grandmother. The angle captured our bedroom door perfectly. Returning to my desk, I unmuted myself and continued discussing quarterly projections while 30 feet away. My wife of 12 years was destroying our marriage. Each minute felt like an hour. I heard laughter. Sarah's distinctive laugh that I'd fallen in love with at a conference in Boston 15 years ago. Now it was soundtrack to betrayal. "Mr. Harrison, what are your thoughts on the proposed timeline?" Mr. Yamamoto asked. "I believe we need to act decisively," I replied, my voice steady despite the chaos in my mind. "In business, as in life, timing is everything. When an opportunity presents itself, we must be prepared to move immediately." The irony of my words wasn't lost on me. As I discussed due diligence and asset evaluation, I was already planning my own strategic moves. My laptop screen showed spreadsheets and projections, but my mind was calculating a different kind of math, the arithmetic of revenge. At 3:32 p.m., after what felt like an eternity, the meeting concluded with the usual formalities. "Thank you for your patience with my connection issues," I said. "I look forward to our next discussion." The moment the call ended, I moved with purpose. First, I retrieved my phone from the hallway. The video was crystal clear. 45 minutes of evidence, including their voices, their plans to meet again next Tuesday when I'd be in Portland, and Ryan saying Mike would never figure it out. He's too focused on his deals to notice what's happening in his own house. That comment particularly stung. Mike. He'd never called me Mike to my face. It was always Michael, formal and respectful. But behind my back, I was just Mike, the oblivious husband too buried in spreadsheets to notice his wife's affair. I saved the video to 3 different cloud services and emailed it to myself with the subject line, "Insurance Documentation." Then I walked to our bedroom door, which was now closed. I could hear the shower running, both of them laughing about something. The casual intimacy of it. The shower we'd renovated together last year, the bathroom where we'd brushed our teeth side by side every morning, made my stomach turn. But I didn't have time for emotion. Not yet. I entered our bedroom with the silence I'd learned during early morning gym sessions, trying not to wake Sarah. Their clothes were scattered on my side of the bed. My side, where I'd slept for over a decade. Ryan's wallet had fallen from his pants, open to a photo of Jennifer and their 2 kids. I photographed everything: the wine glasses on our nightstands, the Waterford crystal from our wedding, their business folders spread across our sheets, quarterly planning documents, how professional, and Sarah's wedding ring sitting on the dresser next to her mother's pearl earrings. Then I did something that would later prove crucial. I took Ryan's car keys from his pants pocket and photographed his parking garage ticket. He'd used the visitor spot, logged in at 2:23 p.m. The building's security system would have video of him entering. I replaced the keys exactly where I'd found them. Moving to our closet, I pulled out Sarah's luggage, the designer set she'd bought for our second honeymoon to Italy last year. Another lie I now realized. How many business trips had been covers? How many late nights at the office were spent with Ryan? I started packing her clothes with the methodical efficiency of someone who'd lived out of suitcases during business travels. Everything would fit in 3 bags and 2 garment boxes. At 3:45 p.m., while they were still in the shower, I sat at my laptop in the kitchen and began the financial disruption. As the primary account holder on most of our accounts, a structure Sarah had agreed to for tax purposes, I had complete legal authority to act. First, the joint savings, $47,000 transferred to my personal account at a different bank. The checking account, $12,000 moved. The investment portfolio we'd built together, liquidation orders placed for market open tomorrow, roughly $380,000 in value, all perfectly legal, all within my rights as the primary account holder. Next, the credit cards. I called each company speaking in my calm professional voice. I need to report my cards as compromised. Yes, please cancel them immediately and send new ones to my office address. Sarah was an authorized user, not a joint holder, another detail that now worked in my favor. The house was trickier but simpler. It had been mine before the marriage, inherited from my grandfather, though we'd renovated it together. Sarah's name was never added to the deed. She'd said it didn't matter, that what's yours is mine anyway, right, honey? Wrong. I called a locksmith service that advertised emergency response. I need immediate service. It's a security situation. Yes, I can pay the emergency fee. They promised someone within 90 minutes. Then our security company. I need to remove an authorized user from our system immediately. Yes, my wife. No, I don't need to explain why. I'm the primary account holder. The housekeeper, Maria, who came twice a week. Maria, I need you to come tonight. Emergency pay, triple rate. Yes, everything is okay, but I need Mrs. Harrison's belongings packed and moved to the garage. By 4 p.m., I'd laid the groundwork for financial separation. But that was just the beginning. The real destruction would come from attacking what Sarah valued most, her reputation and her business. Velocity Creative had 12 major clients. I knew them all because I'd helped secure several through my network. Tech startups I'd connected with funding, established companies looking for fresh marketing approaches. Sarah had leveraged my relationships to build her business, and now I would use those same relationships to destroy it. I opened a new email account. Then I began typing, personalizing each message. Dear David, I hope this finds you well. This is Michael Harrison. I'm writing from a temporary account due to the sensitive nature of this information. Earlier today, I discovered that Sarah Harrison and Ryan Mitchell are having an affair. I have video evidence which I'm prepared to share if necessary. As someone who connected you with Velocity Creative, I felt you deserved to know that the partners are compromising their professional judgment and potentially mingling personal and business interests inappropriately. I recommend reviewing your contract and considering alternative representation immediately. I apologize for any inconvenience this may cause. 12 emails. 12 clients who would receive them simultaneously at 4:30 p.m. when I hit send. But first, I had another call to make. Sarah's parents lived in Portland, traditional Korean immigrants who'd built a successful restaurant chain through decades of hard work. They'd paid for our wedding, her father walking her down the aisle with tears in his eyes, whispering to me, "Take care of my little girl." "Mr. Kim, it's Michael. I'm sorry to call like this. No, everyone is healthy, but I need to tell you something difficult. Sarah is having an affair with her business partner. I have video proof. I'll be filing for divorce immediately." The silence stretched for several seconds. Then her father's voice, cold and formal. "You have proof?" "Yes, sir. Undeniable." "Then she has shamed our family. Do what you must. She is no longer my concern." The Korean concept of family honor ran deep. I knew this call would devastate Sarah more than any financial loss. Her father hadn't said she was no longer his daughter. In his mind, she had removed herself from the family through her actions. Her mother took the phone, crying, "Michael, are you certain?" "I'm sorry, Mrs. Kim. I'm absolutely certain. We we will not be contacting her. Please, you were a good husband. Find happiness again." They hung up. Later, I would learn they'd immediately called Sarah's siblings and extended family, and the shame spread like wildfire through their tight-knit community. Sarah would be effectively exiled from every family gathering, every celebration, every connection to her heritage. At 4:15 p.m., I heard movement upstairs. They were getting dressed. I had perhaps 10 minutes before they came down. I created a simple website using a template service, thursdaytruth.info. The domain cost $12. The hosting was free for the first month. Sometimes the best revenge doesn't require elaborate planning, just the right tools at the right moment. I uploaded everything. The video, with faces blurred to avoid potential legal issues. The photographs, screenshots of suspicious business expenses I'd noticed, but never questioned before. And a simple statement. On Thursday, March 14th, at 2:30 p.m., Sarah Harrison and Ryan Mitchell betrayed their spouses, their business partners, and their clients' trust. This site documents the truth. Make your own judgments. I shared the link on LinkedIn, tagging Velocity Creative and using hashtags relevant to the Seattle marketing community. #Seattle Business, #Marketing Ethics, #Corporate Integrity, #Truth in Business. At 4:30 p.m., I hit send on all 12 client emails, then posted the website link to 3 local business forums where I knew it would gain traction. The digital fuse was lit. Footsteps on the stairs. Sarah's voice. "God, that was amazing. David won't be done with his Tokyo call until 7. Want to open another bottle of wine?" "Actually," I said from my position in the kitchen, "the meeting ended early." The silence that followed was absolute. They appeared in the doorway, Sarah's hair still damp, her makeup smudged, wearing the silk blouse I'd bought her for Christmas. Ryan looked like a deer in headlights, his tie crooked, shirt untucked. For a moment, we all stood frozen, a tableau of betrayal and discovery. Ryan moved first, trying to sidestep toward the door. I stepped into his path. "Sit," I said quietly. "Both of you. We have business to discuss." "Michael, I can explain," Sarah started. "Sit down. Now." Something in my voice must have conveyed the seriousness of the situation because they both moved to the living room and sat on the couch. The same couch where we'd watched movies with Ryan and Jennifer, where we'd planned our future, where Sarah had cried in my arms when her grandmother passed. I connected my laptop to the television, our 65-inch display that Sarah had insisted we needed for client presentations at home. How fitting that it would now display the destruction of her business. Let me walk you through what's happened in the last 45 minutes, I began, my voice taking on the presentation tone I used for board meetings. First, the evidence. I played the video. Sarah's face went from red to white as she watched herself on screen. Ryan started to stand. "If you move, Ryan, I'll send the unedited version to Jennifer right now," I said, holding up my phone. "Your choice." He sat back down. Now, the financial situation. I pulled up my banking apps. As you can see, all joint accounts have been emptied. Legally, I might add, as the primary account holder. Credit cards, canceled. Investment portfolio, liquidation in progress. Sarah, you currently have whatever cash is in your purse and the business account, which I believe has about $3,000 after payroll. Sarah found her voice. "You can't do this. Half of that money is mine." "Actually, no. Check our account agreements. You're listed as an authorized user, not a joint owner. My lawyer, yes, I already have one, assured me everything I've done is completely legal. Now, let's discuss your business." I pulled up my email sent folder. 12 clients have been notified of your affair and the potential ethical complications. Shall we see the responses? I refreshed the inbox. Already 5 responses. "Thank you for letting us know. We'll be terminating our contract immediately. This is deeply concerning. Please send any evidence to our legal department. We appreciate your honesty. Velocity Creative no longer represents our values. Michael, this is shocking. We're pulling our account effective immediately. Thanks for the heads up. We were considering renewing, not anymore." 5 clients gone in 15 minutes, I noted. Your largest account alone is worth $2 million annually. But let's look at the social media response. I pulled up LinkedIn. The post had 43 reactions and 12 comments already. The marketing community in Seattle was small and interconnected. Everyone would know within hours. The website, I continued, showing them the analytics, has received 127 unique visitors in the past 20 minutes. Exponential growth is fascinating, isn't it? Ryan finally spoke. "You're destroying us." "No," I corrected. "You destroyed yourselves. I'm just documenting it." Which brings us to the legal situation. As if on cue, the doorbell rang. My lawyer, James Patterson, stood there with his paralegal. I'd called him during the Tokyo meeting, texting him to be ready to move immediately. "Mrs. Harrison? Mr. Mitchell?" "You're being served," James announced, handing them each a packet. Divorce papers citing adultery for Mrs. Harrison and a civil suit against Mr. Mitchell for tortious interference with marriage and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Additionally, James continued, we'll be seeking full forensic accounting of Velocity Creative's books. My client has reason to believe personal and business expenses have been improperly mingled. This was news to Sarah. Her face, already pale, went gray. Because she knew what I just figured out. All those client dinners that were just the two of them. The business trips that overlapped. The hotel rooms booked on company credit cards. It was all traceable, all documentable, all fraud. The doorbell rang again. The locksmith had arrived earlier than expected. That would be the locksmith, I announced. Sarah, your belongings will be in the garage by 8 p.m. I suggest you arrange transportation and storage. This is my home. Sarah stood up, finally finding her outrage. No, I pulled out the deed on my phone. This is my house. Premarital asset, never converted to community property. You have no legal right to be here once I revoke your invitation, which I'm doing now. You have 30 minutes to collect any immediate necessities. Ryan stood up. We should go. We? Sarah turned on him. We? Where exactly are we going, Ryan? To your house, with Jennifer. The reality was setting in. Ryan was married with 2 children. Sarah was now homeless. Their business was collapsing in real time. Their reputations were destroyed. My phone buzzed. Another client email. Terminating immediately. This is unconscionable. 6 clients, I announced. Roughly 60% of your revenue gone in 20 minutes. The locksmith began his work on the front door. The sound of drilling filled the silence. Sarah started crying. Michael, please. We can work this out. It was a mistake. A mistake? I pulled up my phone. Let me quote from the video. Mike would never figure it out. That doesn't sound like a mistake. That sounds like calculated deception. How long? I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted to know. Sarah looked at the floor. Ryan answered, 8 months. 8 months. Our anniversary trip to Hawaii. The promotion I'd celebrated with her. The fertility consultations we'd started because we were ready for the next chapter. All lies. 8 months of lying to my face every single day, I said quietly. 8 months of me supporting your business, making introductions, vouching for your integrity. My phone rang. It was David Taylor, CEO of Tech Forward, their biggest client. David, I answered on speaker. You're on speaker with Sarah and Ryan. Michael, I'm sorry about your situation. Sarah, Ryan, we're pulling our entire account effective immediately. My legal team will be in touch about the early termination clause. I'm also recommending to my CEO network that they avoid Velocity Creative. Business requires trust. You've proven you have none. He hung up. 7 clients gone. The beautiful part, I said, sitting down across from them, is that this is all your own doing. Every action I've taken is legal. Every consequence you're facing is the direct result of your choices. I haven't lied, cheated, or stolen. I've simply revealed the truth and protected my assets. The locksmith called out, Front door's done. Moving to the back. Sarah's phone began ringing. She looked at it, then silenced it. My sister, she whispered. Ah, yes. Your parents know. I called them 45 minutes ago. Your father's exact words were, she is no longer my concern. This broke something in Sarah. The tears stopped, replaced by a hollow look I'd never seen before. In Korean culture, family is everything. Being disowned by her father was a social death sentence in her community. Ryan's phone buzzed with texts. He read them, his face growing paler. Jennifer knows. She says the locks will be changed when I get there. Her lawyer will contact me tomorrow. The speed of information in the digital age, I observed. It took me 3 hours to destroy what you built over years. That's the thing about trust. It takes years to build, seconds to break, and forever to repair. Maria arrived with her teenage son to help pack. She looked at Sarah with disappointment. Maria had been with us for 5 years, had seen our life together, had celebrated with us during good times. Maria, Sarah pleaded, you don't understand. I understand enough, Mrs. Harrison, Maria replied coldly, then looked at me. Mr. Harrison will have everything packed within 2 hours. The doorbell rang again. 3 men stood there, movers I'd hired for emergency service. Gentlemen, I directed, please help Maria with the packing. Everything in the master closet that belongs to Mrs. Harrison. Her office, her personal items. All to the garage. Sarah stood up. I need to get some things. You have 15 minutes, I said. Maria will accompany you. While she was upstairs, Ryan and I sat in silence. Finally, he spoke. You've ruined us. You ruined yourselves the moment you decided to betray your families. I'm just the consequence you never calculated for. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, he said. How was it supposed to happen? You'd carry on indefinitely? Jennifer and I would remain ignorant? You'd build your business on lies and expect it to stand? My phone showed more notifications. The website had crossed 500 views. The LinkedIn post was being shared. Comments were pouring in from people I'd never met, all expressing shock at the betrayal from a company that marketed itself with the tagline, integrity and innovation. 15 minutes later, Sarah came down with a small bag, Maria behind her. Your car keys, I said, holding out my hand. That's my car. Technically, it's leased under my company as a tax write-off. Another benefit you enjoyed without understanding the implications. You can Uber. She threw the keys at me. They hit my chest and fell to the floor. I left them there. James, my lawyer, stepped forward. Mrs. Harrison, Mr. Mitchell, I recommend you both secure legal representation immediately. The forensic accounting will begin Monday. Any attempt to destroy or hide records will be considered obstruction. We haven't done anything illegal, Ryan protested. Really? I pulled up a spreadsheet on my laptop. Let me show you what I found in just a cursory review. January 12th, client dinner with Tech Forward. Except David Taylor was in Japan that week. February 3rd, marketing conference in San Francisco. Except the conference was in Portland. March 1st, client entertainment expenses of $500 at the Fairmont on a Sunday when you don't have client meetings. Each entry was another nail. Tax fraud, wire fraud, embezzlement. The IRS will be very interested, James noted. As will your other business partners, Ryan. Didn't you bring on 2 junior partners last year? They'll probably want to know why their equity is about to become worthless. Ryan's phone rang. He answered, listened, then hung up. That was Jennifer's father. He's our biggest investor. He's calling the loan. Their business loan, I knew about it from Sarah's endless complaints about the terms, had been personally guaranteed by both of them and backed by Jennifer's father, a real estate mogul who didn't tolerate betrayal. $3 million, Ryan said to no one in particular. Due in 30 days. You should leave, I said. Both of you, now? They stood to go. At the door, Sarah turned back. I loved you, she said. No, I replied. You loved what I provided. Stability, connections, a safety net for your ambitions. Love would have meant honesty. Love would have meant respect. Love would have meant not bringing another man into our bed while I worked to support your dreams. She had no response. They left together, but in separate Ubers. Even in destruction, they couldn't publicly acknowledge their affair. By 7 p.m., the house was transformed. Sarah's presence had been erased with surgical precision. Maria and her team had worked with remarkable efficiency, packing everything into labeled boxes now stacked in the garage. The master bedroom looked larger without her things, the closet almost empty, the bathroom counter clear of her endless products. I sat in my office, watching the digital destruction continue. The website hit 2,000 views. All 12 clients had formally terminated their contracts. The LinkedIn post had been shared over 100 times. Local news blogs were picking up the story. Seattle marketing firm implodes after affair scandal. Jennifer Mitchell, Ryan's wife, had posted her own statement. I'm aware of the situation involving my soon-to-be ex-husband. My children and I request privacy as we navigate this difficult time. To be clear, I had no knowledge of his actions, and I stand with Michael Harrison in exposing this betrayal. Smart woman. She was distancing herself from the blast radius while aligning with the perceived victim. She'd keep their house, the kids, and probably most of their assets. Ryan would be left with nothing but debt and a destroyed reputation. By Friday morning, the complete collapse was evident. Sarah texted me at 6 a.m. "The office is locked. We can't get in." I didn't respond, but I knew what had happened. Their rent check had bounced because I'd frozen the accounts just before their automatic payment processed. The building management, seeing the online scandal, had acted swiftly to protect themselves from being associated with the toxicity. At 9 a.m., I received a call from Alan Park, one of their junior associates at Velocity Creative. "Michael, I'm sorry about everything. I wanted you to know that the entire staff has resigned. We had an emergency meeting this morning at a coffee shop since we can't access the office. Everyone's jumping ship." "I don't blame you, Alan. You didn't create this situation." "There's more," he continued. "We've been going through emails and files. Sarah and Ryan were billing personal expenses to client accounts. Thousands of dollars. We're talking to a lawyer about whistleblower protections before we go to the authorities." The house of cards wasn't just falling, it was being incinerated. By noon, ThursdayTruth.info had received 15,000 unique visitors. Someone had posted it on Reddit, and it had made the front page of the Seattle subreddit. The comments were brutal. "This is why you don't mix business and pleasure. The husband is savage. 3 hours to destroy 2 lives. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. That company marketed itself on trust and integrity. The irony." Sarah called 17 times. I didn't answer. She texted, "Please, I need to get my things from the garage." I responded once. "Everything is in the garage. The garage door code has been changed. Contact my lawyer to arrange a supervised pickup." Ryan's situation was even worse. Jennifer's father, Robert Ashford, released a statement through his company. "Ashford Investments has severed all ties with Ryan Mitchell and is calling in all outstanding loans. We do not associate with individuals who lack basic integrity." The $3 million loan was just the beginning. Ryan had other investors, all connected to Robert's network. Within hours, they all called in their markers. Ryan was facing immediate bankruptcy. The IRS moved faster than I expected. By Friday afternoon, both Sarah and Ryan received notices of audit. The forensic accountant I'd hired had found enough in 12 hours to trigger federal attention. When you mix personal and business funds while conducting an affair, every transaction becomes suspect. Sarah's family disintegration was complete by Saturday. Her sister posted on Facebook, "Some of you have asked about recent family news. Without going into details, I'll say this. Betrayal of marriage vows is betrayal of family honor. We stand with Michael, who has been nothing but honorable throughout this situation." Her brother was more direct in his private message to me. "You were the brother I chose. She was just the sister I was born with. You're still family to us." By Monday, 5 days after the discovery, the transformation was complete. I sat in my law office reviewing the divorce papers. Washington was a no-fault state, but adultery still mattered for asset division. Sarah would get very little. The premarital asset clause protected the house. The business fraud eliminated her claim to my investments, and the video evidence destroyed any sympathy she might have garnered. "She's agreed to the terms," James told me. "Complete divorce, no alimony, no claim on the house or your retirement accounts. She gets her personal belongings and her car once the lease is up next month." That was fast. "She doesn't have money to fight. Her parents won't help. She's living in a studio apartment in Tacoma, working as a freelance consultant. No marketing firm will hire her." And Ryan? Declared bankruptcy this morning. Jennifer's taking everything in the divorce, house, savings, even his vintage car collection. He's moved back with his elderly parents in Spokane. The speed of the collapse was breathtaking. 5 days from discovery to total destruction. In the digital age, reputation dies in real time, and resurrection is nearly impossible. 3 weeks later, I received an email from Sarah. Michael, I know you won't respond, but I need to say this. You were right about everything. I didn't love you the way you deserved. I loved the life we built, the security you provided, the doors your connections opened. I confused gratitude with love, comfort with commitment. Ryan was an escape from feeling like I was in your shadow. With him, I felt like an equal partner, not a beneficiary of your success. But that was my insecurity, not your fault. You never made me feel less than. You always supported my dreams, even when they took time away from us. The affair wasn't just 8 months. It was 8 months of physical involvement, but emotionally, it started over a year ago. Every lie I told myself to justify it seems pathetic now. I convinced myself you wouldn't care because you were so focused on work. The truth is, I knew you cared. That's why I hid it. Losing you, my family, my business, my reputation, I deserved all of it. But the cruelest punishment is knowing I threw away someone who genuinely loved me for someone who abandoned me the moment things got difficult. Ryan hasn't contacted me since that Thursday. He blamed me for the exposure, said I should have been more careful. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know that I understand now what I lost. You were building a life with me while I was building an exit strategy. You deserved better. I hope you find someone who sees you, really sees you, not just what you can provide. Someone who appreciates that you remember small details, that you make coffee exactly how they like it without being asked, that you check the weather before they leave so you can remind them to take an umbrella. I threw away a man who loved me in 1,000 small ways for one who loved me only in the dark. Sarah. I read it twice, then archived it without responding. Some bridges, once burned, should stay ash. A month after Discovery Thursday, as I'd come to think of it, I was at a legal conference in San Francisco. During lunch, a woman approached me, Jennifer Mitchell, Ryan's ex-wife. Michael, she said, I wanted to thank you. For destroying your life? I asked. For saving it, she corrected. I would have spent years more in that marriage, thinking the distance was my fault, believing his lies about late meetings and client dinners. You gave me the gift of truth, even though it hurt. We talked for an hour. She was rebuilding, had kept the house and the kids, was starting her own interior design firm. Her father had helped her buy out Ryan's phantom share of their assets. The strangest part, she said, is how quickly he gave up. No fight for custody, no battle over assets. It's like once the affair was exposed, he just crumbled. Some people are only as strong as their secrets, I observed. What about you? She asked. How are you doing? I'm adjusting. The house feels bigger. The silence is louder. But I'm not lonely. There's a difference between being alone and being lonely. With Sarah toward the end, I was lonelier in her presence than I am now in her absence. I know exactly what you mean, Jennifer said softly. We exchanged numbers. Not for romance. Neither of us was ready for that, but for understanding. We were members of an unwanted club, survivors of the same betrayal. 2 months after Discovery Thursday, I received a call from David Taylor, the CEO who'd pulled his company's account from Velocity Creative. Michael, I have a proposition. We're launching a new marketing division internally. We need someone who understands both finance and marketing, someone we can trust absolutely. Interested. I'm not a marketing expert, David. No, but you understand business, you have connections, and most importantly, you have integrity. In this climate, that's worth more than expertise. I took the position. It meant stepping back from pure finance, but it felt like growth. I was building something new rather than just managing wealth. The first day in the new role, I found a note on my desk from Alan Park, the junior associate from Velocity who'd called me the morning after. David had hired him too. Mr. Harrison, thank you for showing us that integrity matters more than success. We're proud to work with you. 3 months after Discovery Thursday, the legal proceedings were finalized. The divorce was complete. The civil suit against Ryan was settled. He had no assets to claim, but the judgment stood as a matter of record. The IRS case was ongoing, but Sarah and Ryan were facing significant penalties and possible criminal charges. I decided to sell the house. Too many memories, too many ghosts. The market was strong, and it sold in 3 days for well above asking price. The buyers were a young couple, newly married, full of dreams. I hoped they'd have better luck than we did. While packing, I found our wedding album. Sarah looked radiant. I looked proud. Our families beamed with joy. It was a perfect moment frozen in time before the erosion began. I kept one photo, not of us, but of my grandfather at the reception. He died 2 years later, leaving me the house. In the photo, he was watching us dance, but his expression was thoughtful, almost concerned. Had he seen something even then? I donated the rest to a local artist who used old photos and collages. Let someone make new art from old memories. The new condo had a view of Elliott Bay. Smaller than the house, but perfectly sized for one. The first night there, I sat on the balcony watching the ferries cross the water. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Is this Michael Harrison? This is Amanda Kim, Sarah's cousin. I wanted you to know that despite everything, our family considers you the victim here. If you ever need anything, you have friends in us. I thanked her, but knew I'd never take her up on it. That chapter needed to stay closed. 6 months after Discovery Thursday, I was in Tokyo for business, sitting in the same conference room where I'd been during the discovery. Mr. Yamamoto asked about the acquisition we discussed that day. Ah, yes, I said. That was an interesting afternoon. We decided not to proceed with that particular acquisition. Sometimes the best deals are the ones you walk away from. He nodded sagely. In business as in life, Harrison-san. Indeed. The truth about that Thursday had spread even internationally. Business is a small world and scandal travels at the speed of internet. But rather than hurting my reputation, it had somehow enhanced it. I was seen as someone who acted decisively, who protected his interests, who couldn't be deceived for long. You have changed, Mr. Yamamoto observed over dinner. More focused, more precise. Betrayal is educational, I replied. It teaches you to see clearly, and to act swiftly when action is needed. 3 hours and 43 minutes, I said, surprising myself by knowing the exact timeline. Excuse me? From discovery to complete response. 3 hours and 43 minutes to dismantle 2 lives in a business. In the old days, revenge took years. Now it takes an afternoon. He raised his sake cup. To swift justice. To swift justice. A year after Discovery Thursday, I received another email from Sarah. She was working at a small nonprofit, helping disadvantaged women start businesses. The salary was minimal, but she said she'd found purpose. I teach them about integrity now, she wrote. I use myself as a cautionary tale. I tell them about the successful businesswoman who lost everything because she betrayed the people who trusted her most. They think I'm making it up until I show them the website. Yes, it's still active. 1.2 million views now. I'd forgotten about the website. I logged in, curious about the traffic. The comments section had become a sort of forum for betrayed spouses. People shared their stories, offered support, found solidarity in shared pain. Thursday, truth.info had become something larger than revenge. It had become a community. I thought about taking it down but decided against it. Let it stand as a monument to consequences in the digital age. Ryan had disappeared entirely. His LinkedIn was deleted, his social media scrubbed. Jennifer heard through her father that he'd moved to Montana, was working construction, had legally changed his name. He'd erased himself rather than face his shame. Velocity Creative's office space had been leased by a new startup. They kept finding old business cards in odd places and would mail them to former clients with notes. Found this relic of bad decisions. Hope you're working with someone trustworthy now. The IRS case concluded with both Sarah and Ryan pleading guilty to tax fraud. Sarah received probation and fines that would take her a decade to pay. Ryan got 6 months in minimum security and lifetime prohibition from serving as a corporate officer. The judge specifically mentioned the breach of fiduciary duty to multiple parties as an aggravating factor. One evening, while reviewing contracts for the new marketing division, I found myself thinking about trust. How it's given so easily and destroyed so quickly. How in business, we protect ourselves with contracts and clauses, but in love, we operate on faith alone. My phone rang. It was Jennifer Mitchell. Michael, I know it's been a while, but would you like to get coffee? I have something to tell you. We met the next day. She looked different, lighter, more confident. I'm getting remarried, she announced. Congratulations. Anyone I know? Robert Thompson. He's a teacher at my kids' school. Divorced, 2 kids of his own. We met at a parent-teacher conference where I was crying about Ryan missing another event. And you're sure he's trustworthy? She laughed. I hired a private investigator. Had him thoroughly vetted. Checked his finances, his history, even his social media from college. He's clean. More importantly, he's present. He shows up. That's all we really want, isn't it? Someone who shows up. Are you dating? She asked. Here and there. Nothing serious. I'm learning to be alone first, to be complete without someone else. That's wise. I rushed into this relationship, but sometimes you just know. How do you trust again? I asked, genuinely curious. You don't, she said simply. Not the same way. Now I trust, but verify. I love but protect myself. I commit, but keep my own accounts. It's not romantic, but romance is what got us into trouble in the first place. 2 years after Discovery Thursday, I was promoted to Chief Marketing Officer of David Taylor's company. The announcement included a brief bio that mentioned my crisis management expertise and decisive leadership in challenging situations. Everyone knew what that meant. During my first board presentation, one member asked directly, Mr. Harrison, your history suggests you don't tolerate deception. How does that translate to corporate governance? Transparency and consequences, I replied. Clear expectations, swift action when those expectations aren't met, and no tolerance for mixing personal gain with professional responsibility. Like what happened with your ex-wife's company. Exactly like that. Fraud is fraud, whether it's emotional or financial. Both destroy stakeholder trust. The board approved every initiative I proposed. Later, David told me, you know why I really hired you? It wasn't your connections or experience. It was Thursday. Anyone who can execute that level of strategic response in 3 hours while maintaining perfect composure in a client meeting is exactly who I want running our marketing. It wasn't strategic, I admitted. It was survival instinct combined with opportunity. That's what strategy is, Michael. Instinct plus opportunity plus execution. Most people have the first two. Very few can execute. Sarah reached out once more, 3 years after Discovery Thursday. She was getting remarried to a social worker she'd met at the nonprofit. She wanted my blessing. I responded simply, "Be honest with him. That's all anyone deserves." She replied, "He knows everything. I showed him the website on our third date. He said everyone deserves a second chance. I told him I was on my third or fourth chance by now, but he stayed anyway. Then I wish you well." And I meant it. Anger has a half-life. Eventually, it decays into indifference, then into something almost like peace. 5 years after Discovery Thursday, I was giving a lecture at the University of Washington's Business School about crisis management. A student asked about the ethics of revenge in business. "Revenge isn't the right word," I said. "Consequences. When someone violates trust, personally or professionally, there must be consequences. Not for satisfaction, but for justice. The market, like relationships, depends on trust. When that trust is broken, the response must be swift and complete, or the entire system fails." "But what about forgiveness?" another student asked. "Forgiveness is personal. Consequences are practical. You can forgive someone and still ensure they face the results of their actions. I don't harbor anger toward my ex-wife or her former partner, but I also didn't shield them from the natural outcomes of their choices." After the lecture, the professor pulled me aside. "You know, we use your case in our ethics class. As an example of what not to do? As an example of proportional response. You didn't do anything illegal. You didn't physically harm anyone. You simply removed your support and revealed the truth. The destruction that followed was entirely of their own making." 3 hours and 43 minutes, I said. "Yes, we have that timed. It's become something of a legend. The Thursday takedown, students call it." That evening, I looked up the website one last time. 2.3 million views over 5 years. The comments section was still active, a rolling forum of betrayal and recovery. The most recent comment caught my eye. "To whoever Michael Harrison is, thank you. Your story gave me the courage to leave my cheating spouse. Not for revenge, but for truth. Sometimes, the kindest thing you can do is stop enabling someone's deception." I considered finally taking the site down, but decided against it. Let it stand. A digital monument to a Thursday afternoon when two people thought they could build happiness on a foundation of lies, and one man proved that in the age of information, truth travels faster than deception. The cherry blossoms were blooming again outside my condo window. 5 years since that Thursday. 5 years since I watched betrayal unfold in a hallway mirror while discussing semiconductor acquisitions with Tokyo. The same blossoms, different view, entirely different life. My phone buzzed with a text from Jennifer Mitchell, now Jennifer Thompson. "Robert and I are having a dinner party Saturday. You should come. I have someone I'd like you to meet." I considered it. Dating had been sporadic, casual, careful. Maybe it was time to try something more. "I'll be there," I replied. Looking back, the Thursday revelation wasn't about revenge or even justice. It was about refusing to participate in my own deception. Sarah and Ryan had counted on my ignorance, my routine, my trust. They'd built their affair on the assumption that I was too busy, too distracted, too complacent to notice. They were wrong. It took them 8 months to build their house of cards. It took me 3 hours and 43 minutes to burn it down. But it's taken 5 years to rebuild myself into someone who can trust again. Not naively, not blindly, but with wisdom earned through betrayal and survival. The Thursday truth isn't just about what Sarah and Ryan did. It's about what we all do when faced with the choice between comfortable lies and uncomfortable truths. They chose the lie. I chose the truth. And in 3 hours and 43 minutes on an ordinary Thursday afternoon, that choice changed everything. Looking at those cherry blossoms, I realized something. Destruction is easy. It's fast, decisive, final. But growth? growth takes time. The tree outside my window had bloomed 5 times since that Thursday. Each year, the blossoms came back, indifferent to human drama, following their own ancient rhythm of death and renewal. Maybe that's the real lesson. Not that revenge can be executed in 3 hours, but that recovery takes years. Not that trust can be destroyed in an instant, but that it can eventually, carefully, be rebuilt. Not that betrayal defines us, but that our response to it does. My name is Michael Harrison. 5 years ago, I destroyed 2 lives and a business in 3 hours and 43 minutes. But more importantly, I've spent every day since then rebuilding one life, mine, into something stronger, wiser, and paradoxically more capable of trust than before. Because the ultimate revenge isn't destruction. It's reconstruction. It's becoming someone so complete, so whole, that the betrayal becomes just another story, just another Thursday, just another thing that happened on the way to becoming who you were meant to be. The cherry blossoms don't care about our human dramas. They bloom, they fall, they return. And maybe that's the final truth. Life continues, indifferent to our pain, generous with its opportunities for renewal. 3 hours and 43 minutes to destroy. 5 years and counting to rebuild. And somewhere in Seattle, on any given Thursday, someone else is discovering an affair, facing a betrayal, contemplating revenge. To them, I offer the story, not as a guide, but as a testimony. Yes, you can destroy a life in an afternoon. But the real question is, what will you build in the years that follow? The Thursday truth isn't about the 3 hours and 43 minutes. It's about everything that comes after.